You ever notice how some people never seem to lose an argument, not because they're louder, not because they're smarter, but because they're calmer? They say one simple phrase, and suddenly the tension drops, the room shifts, and the other person runs out of fire. It's not manipulation. It's not sarcasm. It's awareness. Because real control in communication doesn't come from overpowering someone. It comes from understanding what actually diffuses conflict. Most people fight to be right. But the wise, they aim to be at peace. And that's what this is about. One phrase that ends arguments instantly, not by winning, but by walking away with your peace still intact. You might be right. 4 small words that hold more power than most people realize. It's not a phrase of surrender. It's a phrase of strategy. It's what emotionally intelligent people use when they realize that no argument is worth losing their peace over. Because when you say, you might be right, you're not agreeing with someone, you're disengaging from the need to prove anything. You're telling them, I don't have to fight you to stay grounded. And that calmness, that's what makes you untouchable. The truth is, most people argue because they want validation, not resolution. They don't care about facts, they care about feeling superior. So when you respond with, you might be right, you take away their fuel. You remove the very thing that keeps their ego alive, resistance. Every argument needs 2 egos to survive. When you choose peace, you kill the argument without saying another word. That's real power, not the kind that shouts to be heard, but the kind that's so secure it doesn't need to prove itself. Think about the last time someone came at you with anger, trying to drag you into their chaos. What do? Most people mirror that energy. They match tone with tone, volume with volume. But if you look closely, the person who keeps their cool always ends up controlling the direction of the conversation. You might be right, is how you reclaim that control, not by dominating the other person, but by showing you're no longer playing their game. It's like removing yourself from a tug of war and letting the rope fall. The moment you stop pulling, they fall with their own force. But here's the beauty in it. Saying, you might be right, doesn't mean you think they are. It simply means you're wise enough to see there's no point in fighting for someone's approval. You can't teach someone who only listens to argue. You can't reach someone whose ears are blocked by ego. So instead of burning your energy trying to convince them, you stay centered. You give them what they think they want, a sense of being heard, while protecting what you actually need, your peace. That's not weakness. That's emotional intelligence disguised as calm, and people feel it. When you stop reacting, they notice. They start wondering why their words don't affect you anymore, why their attitude doesn't shake you. That confusion is power. It makes them look inward while you stay outwardly composed, because while they're trying to win the battle of words, you've already won the battle of energy. You've chosen clarity over chaos. Most arguments are just 2 people trying to be seen. But when you learn to see without reacting, you gain an advantage most never will. You see the fear behind their anger, the insecurity behind their defensiveness. And when you see that, the urge to fight disappears. You realize it's not about you. It never was. Their anger is their reflection. Their need to be right is their attempt to feel in control. So instead of joining their storm, you choose stillness. And that stillness speaks louder than any argument could. You might be right becomes your shield. It's polite, it's neutral, and it's powerful. Because it keeps your tone calm even when the other person's tone climbs. It prevents escalation. It reminds them, and yourself, that your worth isn't tied to being right, it's tied to being at peace. And every time you use it, you train yourself to respond instead of react. You teach your mind that silence isn't losing, that calm isn't cowardice, and that walking away doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. There's a quiet confidence in that phrase. It says, I'm comfortable enough with myself that I don't need to convince you. It says, I can let you think you've won because I'm not playing that game anymore. It says, I've outgrown the need to be understood by people who only listen to argue. That's what growth sounds like. It's calm, steady, and unbothered. The truth is, peace and pride can't live in the same room. One has to go. When you choose peace, you stop defending your truth to people who've already decided not to see it. You realize that no matter how perfectly you explain, someone committed to misunderstanding you will never get it. So why waste your energy proving what time will reveal? When the noise fades, truth always stands. So the next time someone tries to bait you, remember this. You don't have to win the argument to win your peace. You don't need to prove your truth to someone who's already threatened by it. Just breathe, pause, and calmly say, you might be right. Because in that moment, you're not just ending an argument. You're mastering yourself. And that's the kind of victory no one can take from you. Ego seeks victory, wisdom seeks peace. That's the difference between reacting and responding, between needing to win and choosing to grow. Ego wants the last word. It wants validation. It wants to walk away from every conversation feeling like it proved something. But wisdom doesn't care about being right. It cares about being free. Because when you live through ego, you're chained to other people's opinions. When you live through wisdom, you're anchored in your own peace. The ego craves applause. It wants to be admired, to be seen, to be acknowledged. But peace doesn't need an audience. It's quiet, internal, and unshakable. The ego says, I need to win this argument. Wisdom says, winning this argument will cost me my calm. The ego gets louder when challenged, but wisdom gets quieter. Because wisdom knows that the loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure one. And ego can't stand silence, because silence forces it to face itself. Every argument becomes a mirror for the ego. It's never about truth, it's about control. It's not about understanding, it's about dominance. The ego will twist logic, exaggerate stories, even lie, just to keep its image intact. But wisdom doesn't play that game. It doesn't chase validation. It observes, it listens, and it chooses when to engage. That's not avoidance, that's power. Because real strength isn't in overpowering someone, it's in knowing when not to waste your strength at all. Have you noticed that when someone argues from ego, they always talk more than they listen? They interrupt, they over-explain, they defend. But wisdom listens. It allows silence to do the heavy lifting. It studies tone, pauses energy. It knows that understanding doesn't come from reacting, it comes from paying attention. And that's where peace is found, not in having the perfect response, but in realizing you don't always need one. The ego fears being misunderstood. It needs everyone to agree, to validate, to applaud. That's why it argues, because disagreement feels like rejection. But wisdom knows that understanding doesn't require agreement. You can stay calm while someone else stays wrong. You can hold your truth quietly while they shout theirs loudly. Because your peace isn't up for debate. It's not something someone can take unless you hand it to them. And the moment you stop trying to prove your worth, you start protecting it. When you respond from ego, you drain your energy trying to fix perceptions that were never your responsibility. But when you respond from wisdom, you understand that people only see from the level of their own awareness. Some people aren't ready to hear you. Some aren't ready to understand. And that's okay. You stop trying to be seen and start focusing on staying centered. You stop saying, they don't get me, and start saying, I don't need them to. That's where real peace begins. Not when people finally understand you, but when you no longer need them to. Ego creates noise. Wisdom creates stillness. Ego reacts fast. Wisdom pauses. Ego fights to be heard. Wisdom listens first. Ego wants control over others. Wisdom focuses on control over self. The difference is subtle but life-changing. One leads to endless tension, the other to lasting freedom. Because ego seeks to win moments, but wisdom seeks to win peace of mind. And peace will always outlast pride. You'll notice that when you act from wisdom, people's behavior stops surprising you. You start seeing patterns instead of taking things personally. The rude comment, the defensive tone, the exaggerated story, you begin to recognize them as signs of insecurity, not attacks on your worth. That awareness gives you choice. The choice to stay calm, the choice to walk away, the choice to not play the game at all. And that's where your power lies, not in controlling them, but in mastering yourself. The ego wants to win arguments, wisdom wants to end cycles. The ego seeks revenge, wisdom seeks release. The ego asks, how can I prove them wrong? While wisdom asks, how can I stay right within myself? When you start asking the second question, life gets quieter. Not because there's less noise around you, but because there's less noise inside you. You stop competing with people who aren't even in your lane. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trading your peace for pointless conversations. And that's when everything shifts. You begin to see that most conflicts aren't personal, they're projections. People speak from their pain, not their truth. And when you respond from peace, you no longer mirror their pain back to them. You give them stillness instead of fire. You give them calm instead of chaos. That's how you lead with wisdom, not by overpowering the room, but by steadying it. So when the ego inside you whispers, say something, don't let them win. Pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, what am I trying to protect right now? My peace or my pride? Because one will leave you calm. The other will leave you empty. And the moment you choose peace over pride, wisdom steps in. That's when you stop reacting to every noise and start responding with purpose. That's when you realize you don't have to win every argument. You just have to keep your peace. And that's the victory ego will never understand. Silence speaks when words fail. It's the language of strength, of restraint, of deep understanding. Sometimes silence says everything words cannot. It doesn't always mean you have nothing to say. It means you've realized that saying more won't change anything. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom choosing its battles carefully. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows their truth doesn't need to be defended out loud. It's what happens when maturity replaces impulse, when calm replaces chaos, when peace becomes more valuable than being heard. When you stay silent, people assume things. Some think you're afraid, others think you're defeated, but the truth is, silence isn't surrender, it's control. It's the decision to protect your energy instead of wasting it trying to prove your point to someone who's already made up their mind. Silence isn't about losing your voice, it's about realizing that your peace is worth more than your explanation. Because not every comment deserves a response, and not every attack needs a defense. Some things deserve nothing but your silence. There's a certain power in not reacting. The world teaches us to fight back, to clap back, to prove we're right, but silence teaches us something stronger, self-mastery. It's easy to argue, to yell, to defend. But it takes real strength to pause, breathe, and say nothing. Silence forces ego to sit down and let patience take the lead. It's what separates people who are emotionally reactive from those who are emotionally intelligent. Because when you learn to stay silent, you stop giving people the power to pull you out of your peace. Silence doesn't mean indifference. It means awareness. It means you see through the noise and choose not to feed it. It means you understand that not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Some people argue not to understand but to exhaust. They don't seek truth, they seek reaction. And when you stay silent, you take away the fuel that keeps their fire burning. You let their words echo in the empty space, and that silence becomes their mirror. They start hearing themselves. They start realizing how loud, defensive, or foolish they sound. That's the magic of silence. It reveals more than arguments ever could. Sometimes silence heals. When emotions are high, words lose their precision. Anger twists meaning, pride distorts truth. But silence gives space for clarity to return. It allows emotions to settle, thoughts to realign, and wounds to breathe. Speaking in anger might make you feel powerful for a moment, but it often builds walls that take months to break. Silence, however, gives both you and others a chance to come back to reason. It turns confrontation into reflection. It replaces escalation with understanding. Silence also builds respect. The moment you stop reacting to everything, people start thinking twice before crossing your boundaries. They learn that your silence doesn't mean approval. It means control. It tells them you're not someone who can be baited into chaos. And that kind of presence is powerful, centered, grounded. It doesn't shout to prove strength, it radiates it. Because real authority isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the kind of quiet that makes others listen when you finally choose to speak. In silence, you also meet yourself. You begin to hear the thoughts you've been drowning out with noise. You start noticing what truly bothers you and what doesn't deserve your attention. Silence becomes your teacher. It shows you what's real and what's just temporary emotion. It reminds you that peace isn't found in external calm but in internal control. And once you master that, no one can disturb you without your permission. People often mistake silence for emptiness, but it's quite the opposite. It's full of awareness. It's where wisdom collects itself before speaking. It's the pause before the powerful statement. It's the stillness that separates reaction from response. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care too much about your peace to let noise take it away. It's a boundary, a filter, and sometimes even a message louder than any words could ever deliver. There are times when silence is the loudest response to disrespect. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence tells them you're unshaken. When someone lies about you, your silence tells them the truth doesn't need defense. When someone belittles you, your silence tells them you've outgrown the need to be understood by small minds. That kind of silence isn't avoidance, it's maturity. It's self-respect refusing to participate in nonsense. The more you practice silence, the more powerful it becomes. You begin to see that the need to respond is often a trap. You realize that peace is lost not because of what people say, but because of how much power you give their words. Silence gives you that power back. It lets you choose your battles, your tone, your timing, and when you finally speak after a moment of silence, your words carry more weight because they come from calm, not chaos. Silence speaks when words fail, but it also speaks when words would only make things worse. I see, I understand, but I choose peace. It says, I'm not here to win, I'm here to stay calm. It says, my energy is too valuable to be spent explaining myself to those who are committed to misunderstanding me. Silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning, depth, and discipline. It's your greatest strength in a world that keeps shouting for attention. And when you learn to let your silence do the talking, you don't just end arguments. You elevate above them. Peace is the real power move. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it doesn't demand attention. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. Peace isn't something you find when everything is calm. It's something you create when everything is chaotic. It's the ability to stay centered when the world tries to pull you apart. It's the choice to remain composed when every part of you wants to react. That's what makes peace powerful. Anyone can raise their voice, argue, or try to dominate a moment. But very few can stay still, breathe, and let calm speak for them. Peace doesn't mean you don't feel anger. It means you've learned to feel it without letting it lead you. It means you can stand in the middle of conflict and not lose your balance. Because peace isn't passive, it's power under control. It's the quiet confidence of knowing who you are and what's worth your energy. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, that's not weakness. That's power. Because you've shown that your emotions are yours, not theirs to control. The loudest person in the room usually feels the smallest inside. The calm one, the one who doesn't flinch, that's who truly holds the power. Peace allows you to think clearly. When you're calm, you make better choices. You don't speak just to fill the silence or argue just to be right. You listen, you observe, you respond, not react. Peace gives you clarity, and clarity gives you strength. It's why the most confident people don't need to prove their worth. They let their presence do the talking. They've learned that reacting to every insult, every misunderstanding, every opinion only drains their power, so instead they protect their peace like it's gold. Because it is. People who lack peace are always searching for validation. They chase arguments because they need to feel seen. They defend every word because they need to feel right. But when you have peace, you no longer chase approval. You choose alignment. You stop trying to win moments and start trying to win yourself. Peace doesn't care about ego. It doesn't care who's right. It only cares about preserving energy, preserving focus, preserving growth. That's what makes it a real power move. It's a decision to rise above instead of sink into chaos. There's a moment in every conflict where you can feel your peace slipping away. Your heartbeat quickens. Your words start to form faster than your thoughts. That's the moment to pause. That's the moment where peace demands discipline. Because peace isn't automatic, it's practiced. It's built every time you choose not to argue. Every time you walk away from drama. Every time you say, not everything needs my energy. The more you protect it, the stronger it becomes. Peace also changes how others treat you. When you're calm, you become unpredictable. People who thrive on reaction don't know what to do with your stillness. They expect confrontation, but you give them composure. They expect anger, but you give them silence. That throws them off because peace dismantles ego. It disarms hostility. It breaks the rhythm of conflict. Your peace becomes a mirror, reflecting their chaos back to them. And that's how you shift power without saying a word. Real peace doesn't come from avoiding problems. It comes from facing them differently. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's trusting yourself enough to handle it without losing your center. It's walking into hard conversations without fear. It's setting boundaries without anger. It's understanding that control doesn't mean dominating. It means remaining grounded. Peace is not something you beg for. It's something you build every time you choose grace over reaction. You'll notice that the more peaceful you become, the less you feel the need to prove anything. You stop defending yourself against people who don't want to understand. You stop explaining yourself to those who twist your words. You stop trying to fix what doesn't want to change. Instead, you focus on protecting what matters most, your energy, your time, your inner calm. Because peace isn't just about how you handle others, it's about how you handle yourself. In a world addicted to noise, peace makes you stand out. Everyone is shouting to be heard, arguing to be right, performing to be accepted. But peace moves differently. It doesn't chase. It doesn't compete. It doesn't rush. It walks with purpose, speaks with clarity, and chooses silence when others choose drama. And that's what makes it powerful. It's rare. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. Peace gives you presence. It makes people listen when you finally speak. Because your words don't come from emotion. They come from intention. And that's what separates leaders from reactors. Peace is not something you find when life is easy. It's what you learn when life tests you. It's what grows in the silence after 1,000 arguments you chose not to have. It's what remains when you stop needing to win and start needing to understand. Peace is the real power move because it can't be faked, it's felt. It's seen in how you handle pressure, how you respond to criticism, how you walk away from chaos with your dignity still intact. Anyone can fight back, anyone can argue. But not everyone can be still, stay kind, and keep their peace when everything around them tries to steal it. That's real power. The kind that doesn't just win the moment, but wins your life back.